my sisters, only they can understand. We'll fight this war together, together we will stand.
Hey everybody, it's Joe, and thanks for tuning in to TVO Campfire. What this show's about is about successful veterans, and they're bringing you the stories and their experiences. And we hope that it can provide inspiration to each of you out there, or maybe a veteran that you know to help in their life. Hey, good morning, everybody. And finally today we get to bring a Navy guy to the show. Stephen Schultze, stellar career that he had while he was in, started off in the nuclear side of the house, got to come over to my side of the world with aviation, had a little fun to close out his career. But he stands out in my mind what he's doing outside of the military. And we'll get into today on how this guy is not only helping to transform the lives of people one at a time, but how he's transforming businesses as a whole, all based on the people. And without further ado, here's Stephen.
Hi, good morning. So it's good to be here.
Welcome. We're excited to talk with you today.
Yeah, thanks. Enjoy the opportunity, and let's see what we can do to help some people, build momentum so they can transition properly and control their destiny.
I love it. I absolutely love it. So let me ask you, Steve, when you were young, going way back in the memory banks, how was your childhood? Were you from Texas originally, or where did you grow up?
So I'm actually Sacramento, California. Is where I was born, raised, and then as I think I got to middle school range, my mom moved us up into the foothills, and we moved up to the snow line, I guess is what I call it for high school. I would say, yeah, it was one of those things, single mom raising me and my brother for as long as I can remember. And we moved around quite a bit through the Sacramento area. And that was something that I learned later that my mom did also through her life. I mean, she went to high school. She never went to the same high school for a complete year. So that's how much she moved around when she was a kid. And, she went to the same high school, I think twice or three times at one point. So one of her things was when we got to the, high school years, she was going to keep us in the same spot. So she did that. She found herself become more successful, bought a home at that point, and, then, but yeah, when we were younger, just young kids, still had the opportunity to play soccer and, be on a soccer team. And, my mom helped coach girls soccer team because they needed someone to do it. So she never got to see any of my games because she was coaching the same age girls.
Oh, wow.
And so it was always in different spots. So it's just one of those things, she was doing what she could to raise us as best she could. And it was fun. I mean, there was definitely times where, definitely got in trouble. I would say I was not a little saint, that's for certain. Me and my brother and a friend of mine playing with matches, we burned 5 to 10 acres at one point.
Oh my goodness. Well, back then there was a lot of Sacramento was a very rural area.
Yeah, and this is up in the foothills at this point too, and it was my grandfather's family property that we were living in at the time, and the property we burned was part of his and part of his two brothers, and some of another neighbors in there, and I mean, this is a time where, we have bulldozers. I believe they launched a plane but didn't have to use it, so yeah, we did dumb stuff. We definitely had our share of misadventures, but it wasn't like that all the time. We definitely did good stuff too, but I could think of all the bad stuff I've done, BB gun wars and stuff like that. Definitely. So there you go. There's some childhood.
So did your BB gun wars either give you the idea about going in the military, or were you already having that in mind and you were kind of playing war?
No, actually, I think, well, I could tell you what happened with the military there. So when I turned 18 and had a visit down with my grandfather, him and my uncle were there. And so quick background, right? Military family, both sides. Both my grandfathers were Navy. One of my uncles on my mom's side was Army. You go back in the family lineage, more Army back on my mom's side. Then on my dad's side, you know, there was my grandfather, and then two of my uncles went Navy also. My dad did for a short time. It didn't work out very well for him, but yeah. So I turned 18 and I got sat down and said, "Hey, you're either going to college or you're going to the Navy." And little did the family really know how much I hated school, you know, and how little effort I gave at times in high school. So I was like, I'm not going to college. And so it was well, then you're going in the Navy kind of thing. And yeah, so we just had that conversation. And then 2 weeks later, you know, I was down at MEPS joining the Navy on my mom's birthday, no less.
So Oakland MEPS then.
Yes, Oakland MEPS.
Yes, I remember that place quite well.
So years later, I ended up being a recruiter, and I worked out of the Oakland MEPS. And two of the individuals that were the reservists, full-time reservists, Vicky and I can see his face. I can't remember his name. They both were there. They both signed my entrance contracts when I joined out at Oakland MEPS, but they were both still working at the Oakland MEPS when I came back again, you know, 9 years later as a recruiter. So it's kind of funny. Yeah, Oakland MEPS is no more though, I don't think. I think they moved everything to Santa Clara now.
Yeah, back then you would get sent to a hotel up in Richmond the night before.
Gated.
Ask me how I know this.
Yeah, right, with a gate around it. If I remember right.
I mean, and that was scary in itself because that was not probably the most pristine area. And
right.
So they're sending all these, you know, well, some if you guess parents' signature or whatever, 17 and 18-year-olds to this hotel in Richmond, leaving them for the night. And then you get sent to Oakland the next day. And back then, they had a separate room. So if you wanted to play cards or if you wanted to do things, you could go into this little clear box. Do you remember that?
I do not recall that at this point. No.
Well, it's just too funny because I don't come across too many people who've left out of Oakland at the kind of same era that I did. So pretty neat. But you went where from there?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Where after you left, so after your enlistment and you left MEPS, where was your first duty station? So
I joined the Navy Nuclear Propulsion. I volunteered to be a machinist mate. Volunteered submarines. Went through the whole training pipeline, and I will tell you, it was rough for me. So the nuclear power training pipeline then was Orlando for recruit training. After that, you stayed in Orlando. You went through the A school for your rating, completed that. Then you went right through nuclear power school right there for everybody. And so I went through nuclear power school there. I did not do great. Had to work hard. I was on, So when you are not doing well, you get assigned a mandatory amount of study hours you have to put in a week. And the maximum they could give you, I think, was 35, if I remember right, maybe 25. It's been a long time now. But whatever it was, my staff instructor had a verbal for me that I had to put 10 more hours in a week. And you're logging those in. And it was one of those things, if I didn't put the effort in, then they weren't going to, continue to put the effort into me kind of thing. And so I didn't do well. I mean, my last day, I passed my final academic exam, which is a comprehensive exam on the entire 6 months, just barely. And then the next day I have to go in front of an academic review board because of my performance and pass that before they'd actually let me move on. Finished though, I made it. And then I was sent to Idaho. Out in Idaho Falls, we had the nuclear power training units. So these actual Navy nuclear propulsion reactor plants, with the propulsion plants, for us to go learn, get a basic understanding. That's 6 months there. Then after that, I got assigned to my first submarine, which was the USS Grenard, and that was in San Diego. So that was my first 3 years on submarines, was on board the Grenard. And I got to the Grenard.
So basically, they took a California kid, threw him out to Orlando, and then brought him right back to California, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was just, I guess the way it worked out. You don't have much say, right? You say, I want submarines, and then they put you somewhere.
So at MEPS was once they knew that you had scores for the nuke field, they probably just blinded everything else, or did they tell you, hey, here's some options that you actually have?
Oh, no. It was definitely, hey, you did well on the ASVAB, you're going to take this test. I believe my recruiter probably told me about it. Hey, you did well, you're going to take the nuke test, and probably sold me on nuke power before I even, knew that point. So I was probably sold on it before I even, did that. And then, yes, once in MEPS, that was my option. So okay. I will say though, having finished recruiting, that was the last tour I was CMC was in recruiting. And there's times where when they offer you a job nowadays, they're serious. That's the only job they can offer you. It's the only rate available. So if you don't want it, it's not a game.
Right. And so, but that's also based on openings that are coming out of Millington though too, right?
Yes.
It's not that, hey, that's all you can do. It's just like, this is the opening. This is where we can fit you in, right?
Absolutely. It's based on the manning, right? How many people they need, how they see the projections for filling the schoolhouse. Yes, that's how it is. Now, I will say for nuke though, there's always openings. It just may mean you may have to wait, 8 months to go instead of 2 months. But if you qualify nuke, the odds are you're going nuke.
When you were recruiting, was it still on that kind of that wicket point schedule where, hey, if you filled this particular wicket, you got kind of points on your balance per se, or goals?
Well, I don't recall that. The goal was always you had to put in, 2 people a month. And then we were also tasked with, you had to, we needed nukes. And if you had a, area of high schools that had a propensity for, strong potential, then your district or your station may have been tasked to go get in, go out and find a nuke also, kind of thing. But from what I recall, it's always been, go find 2 people a month, and then typically we'll find the rest out of that. But yeah, there's still some on that, but I don't recall to that extreme. Yes, they're tasked with finding it, but it doesn't always happen.
So like when you were down in Orlando going through boot camp, and then when you strolled out going through your, what we refer to as A schools and follow on C schools and et cetera, do you have anybody that, like, still today that you still kind of keep into contact with across something that was for you was over 30 years ago?
I don't from that time frame. I do from the Gennard, but not really from the power school and all that. I didn't really do a lot then. I was studying so much. I mean, I could tell you about Eddie Murphy Raw, I think came out during that time, right? And we went to the theater to see it. And I slept during it while everybody else was watching it because I was just exhausted from all the studying. So that's kind of how it went for me, right? During that time. So I don't recall a lot of individuals from then that I still keep in contact with.
So as you came out from those schools on the sub side of the house,
Mm-hmm.
tell us a little bit about some of the traditions that folks may not be accustomed to in the bubblehead community there. When you so like your blue nose and when you graduate school, what's some of the fun stuff that you get to enjoy as you enter that world?
I don't think it's any different than any of the other, Navy traditions and little things we talk about, we do. I think it's the same. I think though in the submarine, what I can still say to this day, it's a much tighter community, right? When you're on the sub, there's 110, 120 people, on that. And so, I mean, you may, have a blue nose that is not a fun thing at the time, you think, but when you're done with it, you're like, all right, that was cool. I made it. It's like a crossing the line ceremony, a WOG ceremony, right? You don't know what the heck you're getting into. But then
you'll have to tell Rebecca about it. She's definitely not informed on what it is.
No, not at all. And I'm sitting here thinking, what exactly is that?
I mean, it's a tradition. It's a time where we take a stop to just basically have a good time, and I call it indoctrinate individuals that haven't been indoctrinated to whichever ceremony it may be. And so, you talk about like a crossing the line ceremony. Typically it's someone's gonna be dressed up. Multiple people are probably going to be dressed up for the event. And when I talk dressed up, it's finding things around the ship. Some people will bring a few little items, but typically it's you find something around the ship, like you find a mop head, as a wig or something like that, things like that. And they're the ones running the ceremony, making sure you enjoy it, because it is supposed to be enjoyed, but at the same time, making sure that there's times where your humility is challenged, I would say. It's a nice way to say it. And I think those are important. Those are important to have those ceremonies and recognize the traditions that the Navy has had for a long time. And they're still done today. And they're not done in the same manner, right? We probably got a little too far at one point to where it did become a hazing thing rather than a let's have fun as a tradition thing. But it's been brought back some. So it's good. It's still fun.
It's kind of like when you're roughhousing at home, and I mean, things just escalate when you're having a good time. And sometimes, it can get out of hand. But I do think that those traditions are super important to have. And I was going to ask you if they were still doing it. So it's pretty neat, though, to hear about how those things, what you did with mop heads or, those memories that you have, the good times, also are able to come to the forefront over some of the not so palatable times that we had. And I know every one of us at times were really hating our career or decision to enlist. Like, what did I get myself into? I mean, I would never change it for the world. And from everything that you shared, I don't think you would either. How long were you in?
So that was 30 years that I ended up spending in the Navy.
Wow.
Right? So I spent 22, 24, somewhere in there, attached to the nuclear propulsion program. And then at that point, that was 4 different submarine tours. I did a recruiting tour. I did a tour at our prototype in New York as a career counselor, and then over in Naples, Italy, as a technical support role there. And that's where I transitioned to the senior enlisted role and moved into being the command master chief. And that's how I ended up going aviation. And again, you're thinking, this is a guy that's got 22 years in, he's asking to go be a command master chief. And I still didn't understand completely what that meant. Because when I asked, I thought that meant I was going to get assigned to, like a little, small ship, like let's say a frigate. Well, I don't think frigates at the time, maybe, but a cruiser or something, not a cruiser. I'm trying to think, DDG, there you go. I was thinking that's where I was going to go. I thought that was natural. And then they're like, no, there's aviation, there's all these other commands. And I was like, oh, okay, tell me more. And so, yeah, and then when the detailer and I were talking, he's like, hey, I'm going to send you out to Lemoore, California, back to California again. So I had multiple tours on the West Coast, actually, and assigned me to an F-18 squadron and, went there. And yeah, that was a whole different world, but not in a bad way. It's still Navy. A lot of things are still the same. It's just, completely different mission set and mindset about how to get it done. And so that was fun. It was good to learn. And then a couple years there, and next thing you know, I go to be the Air Wing CMC, and that was definitely another eye opener and seeing how things are done on a bigger scale. So it was good, right? I had a lot of opportunities, I would call it.
Did you happen to get any surface time at all, even other than just going with the squadron out to the carrier?
Nope, just the carrier time, through the various carriers. I mean, we went through 3 carriers, I think, in the 4 years.
So since you were able to see, well, you were able to eat, sleep, and breathe the sub side of it. You got a little taste of some surface side of it. And then you got your feet wet with the aviation side. We get a bad rep, just intra-service there. Like the aviation side, we get a bad rep for being the Hollywood. Like this is, these are the prima donnas, these are the Top Gun, the Mavericks, et cetera. But when you came to that aviation side, did you see it? I mean, it's easy for us to say, yeah, it's a different mentality. But did you literally see that Hollywood persona that everybody likes to label us with?
No. What I will say is first thing you got to learn is what's the purpose and the mission for a pilot in the organization, right? A young pilot's purpose and mission is to become a very skilled pilot, not to be a, I don't want to use, this doesn't sound right, but not to be a fantastic leader. We're going to groom them to be a leader, don't get me wrong, but their purpose is to really become the best darn pilot that they can be as a young pilot. And then, they'll get that leadership stuff going. But I wouldn't call it, that Hollywood part. It's just, it's interesting to learn, and you have to understand that mindset, that's what they're there for at first, is to become, that pilot to take the, jet to where it needs to be so they can take care of business. So we're there to support them. The maintenance, is there to support them. The people around them, we're there to support, because the mission is to get that jet off the aircraft carrier and go, bomb, strafe, whatever it is that they're supposed to go do. So it's different in that mentality, because, it's a bunch of individual jets going, whereas typically, from what I can, relate to the submarine, we're all one crew taking the submarine to one place for one mission is the easiest way to say it. Whereas in this case, we're launching 10 aircraft to go do different mission sets, and we have to get them all ready for different things and help support them. But it doesn't go back to the Hollywood thing. But what I will say is it definitely was not the glamorous life for those individuals. Those maintainers bust their butts. They were, 12-hour days every day that you're underway. And if you're on the, back shift overnight, all day long while you're trying to sleep, there's planes launching and recovering. There's constant noise. There's drills being run, so those individuals, oh, by the way, the food is still good, but they're sometimes, getting the leftovers, let's say, from lunch or dinner, instead of always the fresh, just prepared type meal. So it's different for those individuals on the back shift, I will say, and they're doing that every day for months, potentially they could stay on the back shift. So yeah, I don't call it the Hollywood life at all for them. There's some hard working individuals to, get those jets up on time and get out there and do what they got to do.
That's pretty interesting. And then, so after spending 30 years in and having dual MOSs, did you think about utilizing those on the civilian side after you retired?
For nuclear power, no, nothing. I did not want to go back into nuclear power. I did not want to be in a power plant of any sort doing shift work of that type of manner. So that was a quick no. Now, as far as the people part, from being the senior enlisted, the command master chief, I love that part. I love helping people find where they, wanted to be, where they wanted to go, and get that opportunity. So that's kind of what actually led me to coaching. On my way out of the Navy, I was searching for, well, what is it I'm going to do? What is it I want to do? And that's where coaching, I actually came across coaching through some discussions. And that's how I found the school that I went to and got that done before I actually got out.
Definitely before we jump on the coaching, because that's a phenomenal part of why you're here today. I want to hit real quick. What was it like in your career when you knew that, you know what, I'm going to stay for the long haul? And then not only did you stay for the long haul, you stay for 10 more on top of it. So it kind of, what was it early in your career, or was it even early, when you're like, man, I'm going to stick around for a little bit?
So I will say, on that first submarine, everybody called me lifer already, right? So apparently I displayed those things then at that point. So I can't say that I recalled it and I thought, oh yeah, I'm going to stick around to retire. But during my first submarine, I took advantage of some of the reenlistment bonuses and opportunities that the nuclear propulsion program gives you. And so, yeah, I'd say that started early. But I will say, when I was recruiting, that was at about, oh goodness, I want to say probably around the 11-year point. As I was finishing that up, I was actually doing job hunting. I was ready to get out. I was ready to be done. And I'm trying to remember, Johnson Control, that's the name of the company at the time. They did like air conditioning and stuff like that. So I was interviewing, or trying to interview with, and there was a retired warrant officer actually who worked for them and who was trying to help me get into there. And all of a sudden it went dark. I wasn't getting any more comms from them. And I was like, what the heck? And finally the warrant officer called me one day and said, hey, they're not going to tell you, but they've just hired in a new manager and he's bringing his buddy. So the position that they were interviewing you for, you're not going to get. And then he sat me down and said, now, why the hell are you getting out of the Navy at, 11 and 12 years? And so we had a long discussion, and next thing you know, I was like, yep, maybe I do need to re-enlist. It's, not that many more years, and keep going. So I will say, once I re-enlisted and went back out there on the submarine, I don't think I was thinking 20 years. I don't think I was thinking any time frame at that point. I was just going. I will say I had a chief of the boat who, when everybody talk about, the discussion was, once you go over 20, you're working for half pay, is what a lot of people would say. And he would sit us down and show us, and calculate out and show us different things and be like, don't listen to that. You make your own decision, but I want to show you something. And so that was an interesting, way he'd show us to consider going beyond. And so, yeah, I guess at that point, I kept going. And then there was a point, I think probably around 22 years probably around 19, 20 years, I was thinking, okay, maybe I'll be done. And then it got fun again, just a one tour where it was kind of rough. And then after that, it got fun again. So next thing you know, I went to 30. Flew by.
Yeah. Well, now you look at it and you're like, oh, that flew by. But while you're in, ooh.
Oh yeah, there were definitely. Definitely a couple
So,
tours that I was like, holy crud, what am I doing?
and it's funny because Steve mentioned, like, those young mechanics, 12-hour days, but what folks aren't realizing, that's your minimum, right? That's,
Yes.
Lord forbid you have a watch on top of that, right?
Yes.
If it's your duty day and you got watch on top of that 12-hour shift, it's like, oh man, but no, I'm totally, totally. It is nice to be able now to look back. Yeah, time flew by. No, mine didn't. Nope, nope. And get this too, Steve. So in my case, once I hit 20, I was like, give me my check. I'm done. Deuces. I'm blowing this popsicle stand, right? I knew at my 12-year mark, I was like, As soon as I hit 20, I'm done. I'm going to spend these last 8 years working on me and how to make myself more marketable outside, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I started what we called the road program way back at like year 12. and Rebecca, I'm pretty sure y'all had it, but y'all called it something else. But that's the retired on active duty, right? But I ended up, 20 years. Man, I only had 63 days at sea, but I was on a lot of sea duty. It was just I kind of handpicked my career as best as I could. But I ended up with 17 years of per diem. So
Jeez.
yeah, you can imagine.
Yeah.
When I talk to guys like, well, really anybody in the Navy, and they're all rah, 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 sea time, and I'm like, cool, man. I'm 17 years of per diem. So.
The old choose your rate, choose your fate.
Yeah, and it was funny. All I was offered was PN and AMS. So supposedly that was only all I was smart enough to do. And I couldn't see sitting around at a desk job for 20 years. I just, but I played it smart. I played it smart and got what I wanted out of it, and definitely got into the career that I wanted for sure. But
no, that's good.
And one thing that amazes me about you is how you picked up on the coaching. You kind of found. Well, let me go back to the. Had you not been in the service, do you think you would have found that coaching, that passion and that love that you have? You think?
I don't. I doubt it, because I look at how in the Navy we bring our senior enlisted up through the chief rank, and transition them into the leadership roles, the mentoring, that kind of stuff. And as I go to do coaching and consulting, I do not see that type of thing. So I don't think I would have, no, because I don't think it exists in that same manner for the challenge and the development to make you actually do that kind of stuff as a leader. There are those that do it out there, don't get me wrong. There's a lot that do, but it's not the same to me. And so, yeah, it would have probably not.
So when you had made the decision you were going to go into coaching and you were going to retire, when you left the service, did you end up staying in the same location that you were at, or did you go back to the Sacramento area?
So my last tour, I was command master chief of the recruiting district out of St. Louis. And so while I was there, that's where I found coaching. I actually went through coach training. I started a year prior to my retirement so that I could, be done with it, get my credentials done. And when I got out, then we moved to Texas. We had friends here in the area that we'd visited multiple times and thought, this isn't bad. Let's give it a try. Heck, you move all over the place in the military. So if we don't like it, we can move again later. And so that's how we ended up, coming this way. And yeah, it was just one of those things, I guess. I'm trying to think. There wasn't Well, I went to St. Louis actually to try it and see if that was an area we liked, maybe to stay and live. But my daughters, they didn't want to be in that area. So we figured, no chance in staying here then, or no reason to stay here. So we came here. It's not that my daughters are, we're going to live there too, but at least we saw the benefits that Texas offers to veterans. So that was also played into it.
Texas does offer a lot of really good benefits to veterans. In fact, it's surprisingly, when you find out just what resources are available here, it's absolutely unbelievable. Did you have an opportunity then to use, say, your GI Bill or get involved with some of the resources that Texas has to offer?
So I didn't use GI Bill. I while I was in, I used, Navy tuition assistance over the years, and I got my bachelor's, years ago through that. And then I went and got my master's through that. So I didn't use the GI Bill, but what I did here, so Texas offers, like if you're going to set up a business, they have, you work with the Texas Veterans Commission, and you provide all your information. They help you then through, I can't even think of what the Texas, division is, but, applying for my LLC, basically, my limited liability corporation here, company, they waive those fees for Texas veterans, right? So I use that system to help me get that going, and get into, having my business set up without it being a long, drawn out process, a costly process. Not that I think Texas is very costly, but yeah. So that's a benefit that I took advantage of right away, I would say, in that respect, as far as veterans benefit, to get my company named, going, legally formed, those kinds of things. Yeah, there's trying to remember, I can't remember which organization, but one of them has individuals that will help you do that. And so I used them at the time to help me, figure out how to get that going. And I can't remember now, it's been, a few years, but through Google, basically Texas Veteran set up LLC or whatever. And that's how I got that information to help me get hooked up and figure out how to do that. Also how to figure out like the hub program, the historically underutilized businesses as a disabled veteran, that kind of thing. I was able to use them to help me figure out how to apply for that program. So that way I'm in the Texas registry for those types of opportunities if they come along that fall within what I do.
Awesome. And now that we're in current day and time, tell them what you do. Tell them about your business. This to me is actually how I found Steve. We were going through residency week at Texas A&M, and they brought him in to talk. And as I was listening and seeing what he did, I was just dumbfounded that one man is literally changing businesses and the leaders of that business.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
That was fun. That was a fun, actually, I know on your end, it's probably like 4 hours. And, when I was there giving you guys all your profiles and everything like that, you're probably like at the end of hour 3, like I'm ready to be done. To me, that 4 hours flew by. I couldn't believe we did 4 hours. So it was good. So basically at Texas A&M, I went in and did I gave the DISC profile, workplace profile for everybody in your residency group. And then we came in and we discussed, what does it mean quickly, and then how to utilize it for conflict and communication is what we focused on. So today, I'm a business and leadership coach. And to get here, right, I said I went through coaching as I was leaving the Navy, and that was through the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching. They're a worldwide training organization for coaches. And when I say coaches, so a coach that follows the guidelines of the International Coach Federation, someone that does that. So coaching is something that we come in and we're helping the individuals and companies find their own solutions. We don't guide them down a path. We have tools to help them explore their options. But the belief is you're going to find your best solution. We'll challenge you on that solution to make sure you've thought it through, to make sure, it really is the solution that you need. But if you've found your own solution, you're developing yourself. You're more likely then to own it and take action and be accountable to it. And we help you with that accountability piece. Whereas when I do consulting, right, sometimes that's, well, here's the playbook. We want you to follow this playbook and you'll be good. Well, where's the ownership piece in that sometimes, right? Now it's, well, it didn't work. And that's because, Steve brought this in and handed me this manual and said, go with it. So it's a little different, right? The ownership piece in there. So just to give a quick primer on what's the difference between, coaching and consulting. And it's not therapy either, right? There's a difference in that. And I'm not a therapist. So with the coaching piece, right, I'm really interested in challenging leaders, which is a small business leader, a manager in a company, a director in a company, a vice president, you name it, challenging them to get better, to grow, right? It's all about continuing to look at new ways to do business, new ways within yourself to challenge yourself and look at people different. I will say, because sometimes everybody, you were brought up through a company, let's say, in one way. And so therefore, some individuals look at it, well, that must be the only way then. It worked for me, so everybody else has got to do it the same way. But they forget that we're all individuals. We all have different wants, needs, desires. And very few people go to work with the attitude of, I'm going to go fail today, right? They're going to work with the attitude of, I want to have a good day. I want to enjoy life. But that doesn't always happen, unfortunately. So I want to challenge those leaders to understand that, one, how they present and what they do affects themselves and their quality of life with their family and also those around them. And so I look at that leadership development piece that our Navy really instilled in me, which was I'm always trying to train the person to take my job. I want them to be ready to be the next leader. And so I've taken that, and that's kind of how I present things as I do it with, the small business leaders, the managers. It's about, training those other people to be successful, because you do that and, we make a better community. So I guess there you go.
And speaking of community, tell them exactly what you're doing in the community, like how you're actually taking what you're doing with your business, but you're volunteering your time as well. I know when you and I were talking about that, and go ahead and say the company too that you're
that's fine.
that you're volunteering with. Please do, because that program needs some attention. It really does.
Yeah, so I'm with I'm a board member on Bell Institute. It's Veterans, Entrepreneurs, and Leaders, right? And right now we're based out of the Houston area, but doesn't mean the training is limited to there. So what we're doing with Bell is not like a lot of the other veterans organizations, right? There's a lot of them focused in specific areas. And I don't know that there's a lot in the area we are, but we're looking to build leaders in our community. And we're partnering with, entrepreneurs and organizations to help, one, train them. So we offer courses for them to enhance their leadership capabilities. And then two, it's by that networking thing that goes on, right? That piece that's hard for a lot of us at first. It's understanding how to get out of our shell and network and meet other people and learn from them. And so through networking with those other entrepreneurs and leaders, one, we help them then understand how to be better in the community, get out in the community. But the flip side is, right, those entrepreneurs and leaders come in and they get to learn a little bit more about what service is and what they learned in the service to make them already, to where they are today as a leader, a person who does whatever that may be. So that partnership really helps them with opportunities and development, is what I would say.
And how do our members within our organization, how do they get involved with that?
So if interested in seeing what courses we have going on, or interested in becoming an ambassador, I would say, so Bell Institute, what is it, bellinstitute.org. I think, will the link be posted somehow?
Oh
later?
Yeah,
okay.
We'll turn around, and every time you're talking about something in here, we'll throw a card in there. The video will be interactive.
Okay.
For those on the podcast, I hope you can take notes. But
so
Bell, all of our videos are interactive, though. Yeah.
So Bell, VEL, Veterans, Entrepreneurs, Leaders, Institute.org is where I would go. And it will give you a little bit about the mission. And if you're interested, you can hit the info button and somebody will get back to you. When the courses happen, we post, that the course is coming. So in February, we're going to start a course, and it's going to be about coaching and mentoring as a leader, and developing yourself to become a better coach and mentor for the people around you. So that's our February course. We haven't put the link up yet to sign up for it. We'll be doing that soon. And so it does have a minimal cost. You may see a cost, but if you're a veteran, even if you're an entrepreneur, I encourage you, just ask for the scholarship, and we'll consider it, and then we'll bring the cost down substantially, because our goal is to get people in there and make us all better individuals in our community. And by having those entrepreneurs and others assist and take the course without costing them an arm and a leg, they're helping the veterans, they're helping everybody else. So yeah, that's what I would say. So just to give an idea of what we're doing, though, we are working now to overhaul our training system such that we have 3 different training tracks to help people over their time.
Gotcha. And I'm definitely interested in it for our staff as well, because we have people like Rebecca that are community leaders in Belton. These are people that are representing 7,000 plus veterans statewide. And I really think that this is a great opportunity for the leaders in our organization as well to get involved with this. The major influencers and always looking to get better. So thanks for bringing that out to us, Steve, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fun. I mean, facilitating a course and just, if you're an individual who wants to facilitate a course, we can talk about that too. And we'll tell you what types of courses we're offering and see if one of them's a fit, and then work to see what do we need to do to make that person facilitate, because you grow through facilitation also, right? And seeing what the individuals bring to you. It's amazing. It's fun.
You do. And even on a personal level, let's say someone has retired, you don't want to stop growing. And the skills that you can acquire through this type of a venue will really make a huge difference in a lot of ways in life, mentally, emotionally. And if someone is experiencing some setbacks, this is a great reset button, because it's going to launch you into some areas of development that really is kind of like when you go to boot camp, you're like, did I have that in me? Wow, I can do that.
You're right. And I think that's a huge thing is that recognition of what's inside you, right? And I think at this point, when people are taking these courses, I don't know, just my own thought, they're doing it now because they want something. They want to challenge themselves to learn something. It's no longer, it's not a requirement. I'm not telling you have to go take this course. You're asking to take this course because you want to develop yourself, you want to get better at something, or just learn something new, right? You may not want to, let's say, become a great coach and mentor, but you want to learn about it. So you're going to put yourself into this, activity and take the time to learn about it and participate.
Steve, when we look at, let's advance 5 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you at? What are you doing? Where are you going? How are you getting there? Easy question, right?
Yeah, exactly. Easy question. Now, well, first off, I'll say with the Vel part, what I see is we've advanced that to a point where an individual who wants to take our whole training track, they are able to do a capstone with the major university and get rewarded in that aspect of, for their hard work. That's one thing we're looking at there. So I would think in 5 years we've done that. So that's on that part. As far as myself, I see myself just, well, first off, enjoying life. I mean, that's what it comes down to. Got to enjoy it. And so continuing to coach and be able to set my hours, control my time, that's where I see myself continuing to do that. Oh, by the way, out back of the house here in my workshop, there's a, vintage race car, 1968 Volvo 122 race car. So I enjoy that, and I need to continue doing that. And so I'll be doing that still in 5 years. That's where I see myself having enough time to, help people get what they want, yet also enjoying life.
And spending some of the time with Texas Veterans Outdoors activities.
Oh, absolutely. I look forward to that. Once we get past our current day and age, right? Let's figure out how to make that happen. And so, we really haven't talked about either. So thinking about like my thing also for my coaching part, when let's say I connect with someone on LinkedIn, I'll tell them all, hey, if you know a veteran that's transitioning and wants some help, please connect me with them, right? Because it's a struggle, right? Many of us, it's a challenge. So how can we help you get what you want, And so I'll tell them, hook them up with me. I'll give them a free hour of coaching so that we can help. And it usually doesn't end there, right? If they're asking for help, I'm going to help, because I think it's important that individuals understand that it's not the same. It's not as easy as those transition programs tell you. It's not, you're going to walk right out and fine. There are those, don't get me wrong. And I will say I was very fortunate when I got out through connections, right? That's how I found my job, or my consulting gig, I should say, right? Because I do consulting also. So, but yeah, it's taking care of each other, I guess is what I'd say. Yep. Does that answer your where am I going to be in 5 years?
Yeah,
going back to that initial question.
yeah, no, absolutely. And the name of his business that he's doing now is called Leaders Transformed.
Thank you.
And just those two words straight up tell you what he's about, what he's doing. And I'm going to tell you now, if you're anywhere hoping to get into a management position with any company, whether it's small, as he mentioned, or it's one of the Forbes or Fortune, 100s, right? You constantly are adapting. You constantly have to keep getting better yourself, because the instant that you become stagnant, you're gonna get overran. I'm just gonna give you that word of advice now, and I promise you, you're gonna get overran, and you're gonna find yourself out of a job, out of a place, or etc. So everybody can look at it and say, yeah, he's got a good niche, but really what he has is he has way much more than a life coach situation. He has straight up what is going to take our business and what is going to take our leaders per se, our managers into that next stage of their life on a long term. And I highly suggest that people not only recognize what he's doing, but get involved with what he's doing. Thank you, Steve, for coming out today. Thanks for that 30 years of quick service, as you referred to it as. and it's pretty neat seeing a bubblehead go into the aviation and still have fun with it. And then doing what you're doing now, and glad to have you down in Texas for sure. Even though that north kind of Houston area where you're at is a little bit too congested for my liking, but where you're at though, it's really nice. We flew down there a while back, actually to pick up some bees and bring them back up here for some of our vets that do the that got into the therapy of apiary, breeding and the maintenance of beekeeping and stuff. So
that's fantastic.
That's a beautiful area that you're actually living in down there on that north side of Houston. But you go a little further south than that, and it's way too congested for me.
It is. I would agree. It's definitely huge city. Well, you know what? Thank you to both of you, right? First, thanks for having me on, but for what you're doing, right? And how, both of you are giving your time to help others and, give opportunity or at least if it's not opportunity, give understanding that there is opportunity, right? Maybe they don't see it at the time while they're going through this, but they got to understand opportunities there. Sometimes you got to go take it. Sometimes you got to go find it. It's not always just going to find you. But, thank you to both of you for that and your service also.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you so much, Steve, for everything that you have focused on doing and giving your time and your attention to helping develop veterans and others and allowing people to grow personally and professionally. You are making such an impact on many lives. And I know firsthand that you already have. I personally know somebody here that has really been greatly influenced by you. And I think that as you continue to do this, you're going to empower so many people and take a lot of veterans who might have been in a position where things just weren't so right. Mm-hmm. And it's really going to make a significant difference. And I want to thank you so much for everything you're doing.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. So Rebecca, if you'll close us out, man, I'm good for the day. This was a very, very good deal to sit down with Steve, and I think what he brings to the table is it's definitely needed in the world. It's just a matter of getting it out there to the people that matter and let them see it. So, and I hope that we can do that.
Yeah.
I think so. And I think with what Steve's doing, it's just incredible. And the resources that are available between Texas Veterans Outdoors and the things that Steve's doing, he's got a lot of different opportunities. Just making that connection with him alone is going to be fantastic. So for those of you who are watching and those of you who are listening, make sure that you connect with Steve and get in touch with him on social media, directly on his business, any way that you can, because there's lots of opportunity there. And we ask that you share not only what we're doing with TVO, but what he is doing as well to other veterans. Get it out there. Like, share the video, share the connections. Networking is all about building each other up and helping each other grow. Thanks for tuning in. And we ask again that you make sure to get the message out there. And we really do appreciate you.
Well, we're veterans, so we spend a lot of time in mental health.
Thanks for telling me.
That's part of it, right? And we also teach a class called now it's called Rec for Heroes. It's a guitar class at the VA, Fort Worth VA, and I've been teaching now for 5 years, and Ron has been helping me teach the disabled vets up there. And so I got to thinking, you know what? The song is essentially 3 minutes with your therapist, right? I mean, it can make you up, make you down, whatever. So I wrote a little bit about it, and Ron is like, yeah, let's finish that sucker.
Yeah, we sit down and
It's called 3 minutes session.
And we finished it in a thunderstorm.
Yeah, that's
so.
right. Give me a 3-minute session with my favorite Haggard song. Warm summer evening and the rumble of a storm. Find my direction, way to heal my wrongs. With a 3-minute session in the form of a country song. Now therapists, they tried their best an hour to work on you. Ask you questions, search for answers, take away your blues. I ain't saying that they don't help, one thing I know is true. One quick way to brighten my day is listen to my favorite tune. Give me a 3-minute session with my favorite wailing song. Warm summer evening and the rumble of a storm. Find my direction, way to heal my wrongs. With a 3-minute session in the form of a country song.
Loretta, Dolly, and Emily seem to tell it right. If you need a cure for your working blues, just listen to some 95. 2 more bottles of wine and I'm feeling fine. Takes the fight right out of me. I can find a cure for all my ills, and I don't mean to go to this city.
Give me a 3-minute session with my favorite Patsy song. Warm summer evening and the rumble of a storm. Find my direction, way to heal my wrongs. With a 3-minute session in the form of a country song. Give me a 3-minute session with my favorite bowling song. A warm summer evening and the rumble of a storm. Find my direction, way to heal my wrongs. With a 3-minute session in the form of a country song. Find my direction, way to heal my wrongs. With a 3-minute session in the form of a country song.